So in the previous lecture we set up Redux. Now we want to update the state with the user that we get from the Firebase. Okay, so for that, let me close all these tabs and let me go to app.js, and here we can access the Firebase auth function to access the currently logged in user. So first let's import auth function from the Firebase. Here import auth from Firebase, and we will be dispatching the action and payload so that we can update the Redux store. Right, for that we can also access the use dispatch hook from React Redux. So let's import that as well. So import use dispatch hook from React Redux. Okay, now when this component mounts and whenever there is a change, we want to access this Firebase auth current user auth state. For that we can use use effect. Use effect runs each time component mounts and whenever there is a change in the state. Right, so here to use the dispatch, let's put it in a variable const dispatch equals to use dispatch the hook. Right, now we're going to use effect to check Firebase auth state. All right, so use effect, this takes a function as an argument, so this is the arrow function, and the second argument is the dependencies array. Okay, so we can leave that as empty. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to try to access the currently logged in user from the Firebase. So if there is that logged in user, currently logged in user, then we get that information here, and that information we want to dispatch to the Redux store. Okay, so here let me write the entire function, the auth on auth state change, that function we get with Firebase, the entire function I'm going to put that in a variable. So const, I'm going to call that on subscribe. Okay, the reason for that is once we get that information, we want to clean up the state. Okay, so this use effect runs each time, and each time it runs, as soon as it runs, we dispatch to the Redux store and then we're done. So we want to return this function on one more time so that we clean up the state, so that will prevent us from memory leak and all that stuff. All right, so const on subscribe, I got typo here, on subscribe equals to auth, using the Firebase auth on auth state change. So we get this method that will give us the user, and I want to use async await here. That makes things a lot easier. So async function. All right, so async, we get the user from the auth state change. So if user, so on auth state change we get the user, but user if we don't have the logged in user, this user might have the value of undefined. So first we want to make sure that we have the user. If we do, then we want to get this user's token, so that is the one we need. Right, so const id token result equals to await user dot get id token result. Okay, so this will give us the JSON web token, which can be used to access the protected routes later from our backend. All right, and then once we get that token, we can dispatch this token to Redux store, because when we make a request to our backend later, for example, admin will try to create a new product. So that time we want to send the user token, because in the backend we will validate this token to make sure that it has been generated by Firebase and it belongs to the user. the admin user for so many other things, right? So this is one of the core thing to focus on, getting the users JSON Web Token. All right, so once we get that, we can dispatch to Redux. So we can use the dispatch method, and here we can give the type and payload. So if you remember here, user reducer, it expects the type like logged in user or logout, whatever that is, and then the payload is whatever data we send. All right, so here in the dispatch we send type and we send payload. Okay, so the type is going to be logged in user. Make sure it matches, it's the exact same here. So logged in user, that string is the type, and the payload, we're going to send an object here. So we can send the user information. For example, we have the user, so we can give the name. Okay, response.data. Oh, sorry, not response. It's going to be this user. Let me actually just put something right. Okay, I want to have a look at it in the console, just so that you and me, we both get clear understanding of what we're doing. Let's console log user. Let's have a look what we have here, and just hard code the value. We're going to change it very soon. So when all this happens, we want to clean up. For that, we can return the function unsubscribe. Okay, perfect. Now let's try. Here in this state, it has been populated, you can see, because we are using use effect. When the component mounts, it runs and it auto populates the state, which is perfect, but it is hard coded. Soon we're going to put the actual value that we got from the Firebase. That's what we want to see here in the console. Okay, that's great. You can see here we have a logged in user already, even though it doesn't look like that. Before, we have been trying this complete registration, and during that time the user has been already logged in. Okay, and you can see here this user doesn't have a display name, but it has got email and it has got the token. We can access that. All right, so that means user, let's just dispatch the email for now. We're going to work on the name later, but for the moment let's just dispatch email. So that's going to be user dot email. Yeah, user dot email, and the token is going to be ID token results. Okay, perfect. Let's go have a look in the Redux store. We have the logged in user's email and the token. How good is that? Perfect, right? Okay, this one has more information that we need. ID token results. Let's access token from here, because you can see here we have more than token. We have token and we have the expiry time and so on. We don't need all that. So we can do ID token results dot token. All right, let's try. Okay, now we have user in the state with two fields, email and token. Perfect. Now you can refresh the page. It doesn't matter. Until we log out, this will always be here. How great is that? So this is coming directly from the Firebase, so we don't have to worry about saving it in the local storage and so on. Firebase does everything for us. So because we complete the registration, we have been logged in, and there is no way to log out and try log in again, right? So that means maybe we should try log out, implement the logout functionality later, and then work on the login. And then once we have done that login and registration in the front end, we will move to the back end. because we don't want to stop here. Once we get the email and token, we want to send this token to the backend, and backend will make a request to Firebase to first validate that this is a valid token. And if it is valid, all this information we got from the Firebase here in the front end, in this React application, the exact same information can be also retrieved in the backend, as long as we have this token, which is great, because once we get all this information in the backend, then backend can save the user in the database, create or update each time. Okay, so that's how we're going to manage users in our own database, and we use Firebase just as a medium to get this entire login registration system working. All right, so you will see how it all works out, but in the next lecture, let's implement logout so that we can log out and give it a try how it works. All right, I'll see you.